So, owning a business. In this PowerPoint, we're going to talk about being an entrepreneur and owning a business. First thing you need to know is that an entrepreneur is a person who takes a risk to start a business. They must be hardworking, good with people, good with money, willing to take chances, and they need to be a self-starter and a hard worker because it's really hard to be an entrepreneur and it is very risky to own your own business. A company earns money from selling goods or services. So that's how it makes its profit, by selling goods and services to a customer. The money coming into the business is called revenue or income. The costs of doing business, those are called expenses. That's what goes out of the business. Kids can be entrepreneurs, and I will post some videos in the assignment so you can see what kinds of kid entrepreneurs there are out there. What are some common business expenses? Well, just like in a personal budget, a business owner needs to pay rent or mortgage for the business, to rent the space for the business. They need to pay for electricity to run their equipment and their lights and their other things that take electricity. They also need to pay for water and sewer because they provide bathrooms for customers and for employees. They need to pay for heat or air conditioning, depending on the weather. They need to pay employee salaries, which is one of the biggest expenses of a business, is paying your employees' salaries. Also, employee benefits. When you're an employee, you like to have benefits like healthcare and time off and things like that. So that is an expense of an employer. Business insurance, just in case anything goes wrong, if there's a natural disaster and the business is affected or the building is affected, or if there's a robbery. It's important to have business insurance. We get insurance to protect us from anything that costs us a lot of money. So in our personal world, we insure our car, we have health insurance, we have home insurance or apartment insurance, we even have phone insurance. But it's important for a business to protect from losses as well. And that's why they would get business insurance. Of course, taxes. Businesses also pay for taxes because they have an income. Just like people have an income and get taxed on their income, businesses get taxed on their income. And that money that's raised by taxes goes to pay for all of the things everyone in the public needs, like roads, highways, policemen, firemen, ambulances, things like that, which businesses also need. If they're getting robbed, they like to call the police and the police show up. That's paid for by taxes. So we all pay taxes for the greater good so that everyone gets services from our cities, our states, and our country. Cost of materials. The things that you're making in your business cost money. So it costs money to buy those materials and it costs money to make the items that you sell. And then, of course, advertising and commercials. In order to promote your business and get the public to shop there, they need to know that you're there and they need to be convinced to shop at your business rather than someone else's business. So oftentimes advertising and commercials can drum up that kind of business. Let's take a look at what is a profit. A profit is the money earned after all of the expenses are paid. So just like in a personal budget where your income needs to be more than your expenses, that's what makes a business successful, when its income is higher than its expenses. But in the business world, we call that revenue. So revenue is coming in, expenses are going out. So profit is what's left over. Profit equals revenue minus expenses. The business sells goods or services, and then they make a revenue from those customers, and they don't get to keep all of the money because every month they need to pay their bills, just like in real life when we all pay our bills. So once they pay all of their bills, what they get to keep at the end of that is their profit. Now, in order to make a profit, businesses must make enough to cover all of the business expenses. That's what makes owning a business so challenging. It's very expensive for a business to make money. So how can a company increase its profit and make more money? Well, the first thing they can do is to lower production costs. This is how the cost of making things. So they can lower their cost of natural resources. So let's say they want to make tables and they're making a table making business. But they've been importing very very expensive wood from Brazil. And that drives up the cost of the tables. Well, they could actually order wood from within the United States. They could order wood from, say, Colorado, and they might be able to lower that cost of the natural resource for importing something that's less expensive. Also, they can lower production for their capital resources. Capital resources is the kind of equipment or the kind of building that the business is in. So you don't necessarily need to be in the schwankiest building to have your business there. You might want to save money by having a less expensive rent somewhere else, and you would be able to save money on capital resources. Labor costs. This is lowering human resource costs. So the way that you could lower labor costs is by having less workers. You could pay your workers less, and this would lower the human resource cost. So if you're paying your workers less, then that's why you increase your profit. Now, in social studies, we've talked a lot about how a lot of things are made in countries other than ours. And this is part of the reason. Because other countries don't have laws and protection for employees, then it means that businesses can hire people from other countries and pay them very little. Pay them $1 a day to do the work of an 8, a 9, a 10, 11, or 12-hour day. And of course, that's going to be cheaper for the company. And of course, they're going to make more money from that. But there's an ethical question to think about. Is it really the right thing to do? Because you've done your budget project and you know how much it costs for a person to live on their own and pay all of their expenses. So they need to be able to get good jobs that pay fair wages. So it's a balance. It's a balance for the business owner to decide, am I going to treat my employees well and pay them well? And I might do that. And I might just expect my employees to do a little bit more. And I might not have as many employees. I need to make sure that I don't have too many employees doing the job that could be done with less. But I also don't want to take advantage of my employees. So this is a very tricky area, and it's a very difficult decision to make. Another thing I can spend less money on is advertising and marketing. Or I could spend more on advertising and marketing to bring in more business. So I have to look at that, and I have to look at the types of advertising that I'm doing. How am I bringing people and customers into my business? And sometimes advertising and marketing can bring in business, and it's a worthy expense. But sometimes you spend it on the wrong type of advertising or expensive commercials, and then you might not make your profit that you need to get your expenses back. You could offer sales and incentives for customers to come in and shop at your store. Perhaps this would take them away from their competition. So if you have a choice to buy a table at your store or a table at a different table shop, then you might offer sales and incentives to say, hey, you buy your dining room table with us and we'll throw in a free chair, and then you'll buy the rest of the chairs that you need. So sales and incentives can be good to bring in customers and increase profit. So make sure for the quiz that you can know a few ways. If a business owner wants to increase profit, what are some ways to do that? All right, I will put some more videos on the assignment for you to take a look at. Let's take a look at how profit works. In what ways can you increase your profit? Well, you could reduce the cost of your natural resources. You could reduce the cost of your capital resources. You could reduce the cost of your human resources. Or you could increase demand for your product by marketing and advertising or doing incentives and sales and promotions. This is the meat of the balance of an entrepreneur, deciding how can they make the best profit and the best product. That's important. Let's try this with looking at a lemonade stand. So if you were going to open up a lemonade stand, first you need to have resources to do this. You're going to need 3 types of resources to do this. You're going to need to have natural resources such as lemons, sugar, and water. You're going to need to have capital resources like money for startup. You can't just get lemons for free. You're going to need money to go buy them. You're going to need to have equipment like a spoon and a pitcher for the making of the lemonade. You're going to need to have a table and a chair so that the person selling the lemonade can have a place to sit and you can display your lemons and your lemonade. You're going to need a sign. So that costs money in materials. That's capital resource. and you're going to need cups to put your lemonade in for your customer. So those are the capital resources you would need if you had a lemonade stand business. And of course, you're going to have human resources. Human resources is the human labor, the people that are working for you. So do you have people that are shopping for you? Do you have people that are making lemonade for you? Do you have people setting up and selling the lemonade? Now that's going to be up to the entrepreneur. A lot of those things can be done by you in the case of a lemonade business. So you might be the only human resource. But remember that your time is worth something too. So you should be making some money. Now, all of these resources cost the owner money. They're expenses. The owner then must decide how much to charge for the lemonade. If they charge too much for the lemonade, there won't be any interest. People won't want to buy a glass of lemonade that costs $10. That would be crazy. So the owner might think, well, I'll make a great profit if I sell my lemonade for $10. But they're not going to have the interest, so they're actually not going to make the money. Now, if you charge too low for the lemonade, you're not going to make any money because you need to cover the costs of your lemons, your sugar, your water, your money, your table, your sign, your cups, and your employees. So if you only charge 10 cents for your glasses of lemonades, you're not going to actually make any money because 10 cents is probably what one cup costs you. So you have to balance the price of your lemonade to overcome all of your expenses. And if you can do that and people are interested in your product, then you can make a profit. And you may actually advertise or run incentives to drive up your sales as well. Now, how does competition work? Well, if you were the only lemonade stand in town, you wouldn't have any competition. So with no competition, you could charge anything you wanted for your lemonade as long as people are willing to pay the price. But let's say that a girl down the street starts a second lemonade business and you're selling your lemonade for 50 cents a cup. And it's pretty popular because it's the summertime and everybody loves lemonade in the summertime. Well, if someone opens a competing lemonade stand, it means that they might decide to sell their lemonade for 45 cents. Well, that competition is going to drive customers away from your business toward their business. So you might decide, I'm going to charge 40 cents for my lemonade, and the customers may come back to your business. But at some point, the price is going to be too low to make a profit. So both entrepreneurs at both lemonade stands are going to have to really find that balance of what they charge for their lemonade based on making what they can make for a profit. So you may decide to do other things like make a specialized lemonade. Maybe you'll offer flavored lemonade to bring in the competition of the customers. So you might offer raspberry lemonade or mango lemonade, or you might offer lemonade in a cookie package and expand your business to bring in customers. And that's what people in the real world have to do when they own a business. They have to make their product and their company and their business marketable and worth it so that customers will come to you. Now, when there's only one company that has control of an entire area, and there's no competition, that's called a monopoly. And the government does have rules and regulations to discourage monopolies because if you're the only company in the world that sells computers, you can charge just about whatever you want for your computers. And people will pay that price because they really need computers. So competition is a good thing in our economy, a free market. A competition would drive the prices down across the board and make it better for the customer, but at the same time, staying fair to the companies selling the product so that they are making a profit. Whereas a monopoly, they could really sell and price gouge and have a really high price for something and people would pay it because they really need that product. So we try to avoid monopolies. Now, there are some companies or businesses that aren't in the business of making a profit. They're not in the business of making money. Now, what does that mean? Everyone's interested in making money. Well, we call those nonprofit organizations. A nonprofit organization is a business that's not in the business of making money. They're in the business of helping the community or giving back or helping others. So they don't really sell a product or service. They help other people. Now, they need to pay for their bills, so they do need to have an income. They do need to have a revenue, but they do this oftentimes by instead of paying their employees, they have volunteers, or they take donations from the public. And so they do have to pay their expenses. Like if they have a building, they need to pay rent and they need to pay electricity and water and sewer and tax, like some other things that they need to cover their costs for their capital materials and their products. But they're not actually trying to make a profit, so they just need to break even. So some examples of nonprofit companies would be things like the Red Cross, churches, the Salvation Army, Wounded Warriors, Make-A-Wish Foundation, animal shelters, homeless shelters, clean water organizations. And there's lots of other organizations out there that are nonprofit organizations trying to help the community. They do need to earn some money, but they're not actually in the business of making money. They just want to pay their expenses and give back to the community. Now, businesses can often advertise, and we talked a little bit about that. And they can use lots of different strategies. You can put ads up around town in the newspapers. You can go onto the internet. You can do commercials. But it influences customers to buy your products. And advertising agents target different age groups. And if you're a smart buyer, you should watch out for some different strategies that advertisers use, because advertising is trying to convince you to buy a product. And sometimes they can be tricky. You're going to be looking at this in English class as well. So we're not going to spend too much time on this, but you need to be aware of some advertising strategies. When you're watching commercials, the first thing is they always make things sound perfect. They have strong imagery to connect your emotions and your feelings and joy and family. So when you're watching commercials, oftentimes they'll be like feel good and things like that. They might suggest to you that you must have this product to be happier, to be more popular, to be more fulfilled. They might downplay other products and call their names. They may put down other products and say they're not as good as their product. They may ask you to buy now or hurry before it's sold out, or there's only a limited quality. This is to get you to buy the product faster because it creates a sense of problems. It creates a sense of a shortage. And when people think there's a shortage, they buy more. They make speak in generalities like it's pure and natural. This new shampoo is pure and natural. Well, what does that really mean? It means nothing. It's not telling me why it's pure and natural or how it's pure and natural. It's just saying that it is. Testimonial. They might have a celebrity or an expert endorse the product and say, I love this product and you should too. And people like to buy things that famous people use. They may tell you to jump on the bandwagon, which says, well, everyone's doing it. Everyone, like to be popular, you need to have this product or you'll be left out. You won't be as good as other people. Some more advertising strategies. They'll make a claim about something, tell you that it works or it can help you. They can make you feel, this is a big one, especially for teenagers, is that you'll buy products just because of the brand name, because the brand name makes you better or more popular or makes you look richer than other people. And so brand names, it's right here in this strategy. They do it on purpose because they want you to feel like you're better than others, and that if you don't buy their kind of clothing or their brand of clothing, you're not as good as other people. So you buy it so you look better, you look richer, you look more important. And basically they just took your money and with a product that's just as good as something without a brand name. So joke is on all of us. Repetition, they might just keep repeating things. There's other things, humor. That's my favorite kind of commercials, ones that use humor. They'll use facts and figures. 4 out of 5 dentists agree that this toothpaste is the best. Sometimes they'll make you worry about things so that you'll buy something out of fear. Like you don't want to have bad breath. You need to use this. Or sometimes they'll give you a special offer. Buy one, get one free, a free gift, things like that. Let's take a look. I'll put some advertising videos on your assignment so you can take a look at those. Knowing your audience is important. They don't advertise for children's products at 11 o'clock at night on the news. That's because children aren't up at 11 o'clock at night watching the news. But they will advertise children's cereals on Saturday morning cartoons or on Nickelodeon or on channels that kids tend to watch. So commercials are written to appeal to their target audience. And depending on what time you're watching television, or depending on what kind of shows you're watching, just depending on what kind of YouTube videos you watch, or what you're looking for on the internet, you will see commercials that are targeted more towards your demographic. You're not going to see things for senior citizens, hopefully, because if you're searching things on the internet for senior citizens, that makes you a little bit strange. So you might start at getting some target commercials for senior citizens, and you're not a senior citizen. Go figure. All right, so I will post some more videos, but you have to think about what you want to be when you grow up. Are you going to work for a living? You're going to try to open your own business? Maybe an entrepreneur is something that you could be, but it does have a very limited set of skills that many of us do not possess. And of course, you need to be ready for the quiz. So making sure that you're ready for the quiz, you need to be able to tell me what is an entrepreneur, a person that takes a risk to start a business. What qualities should an entrepreneur have? Things like being hardworking, things like being good with money, being good with customers, being brave, being creative, things like that. What is a profit? Of course, that's revenue minus expenses equals profit. What are some common business expenses? Well, rent, electricity, telephone, employee salaries, employee benefits, natural resources to create things for your product. How can a business increase its product? Well, it can reduce the cost of its items, or it can do commercials. It can cut its employee costs. It can cut its capital resources costs or its natural costs. Why is competition good in the economy? It's good in the economy because it drives the prices down for the customer and prevents monopolies. What is a monopoly? It's when there's only one business that sells a certain product or service, and so there's no competition, therefore driving the price up for the customer. What is a nonprofit organization? That's an organization or a business that's not in the business of making a profit. It's in the business of helping the community and paying its expenses, but not making more than its expenses. Advertising strategies. You're going to need to be able to tell me some. You can go back to that slide and take a look. And why is it important to know your target audience? Well, because you don't want to have a commercial for someone that's not interested in that product. So I hope you have listened to this PowerPoint video and that you are going to be ready for the quiz. Feel free to go back and watch it again, or just parts of it that you need to go back and review. And good luck on the quiz.